One.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Jalal Sudan. I've been honored to been invited to speak at this podcast about the pioneering effort of this community. My beginning started long before I joined the community. At about the age of 6 or 7 years old, I was attending the church in the Baptist church, singing a song along with the congregation titled, "I Want to Be More and More Like Jesus." Throughout the song, I was very intense and attentive and really serious about the words to the song. And all of a sudden, I heard a voice from the Spirit saying, Jesus was not what they say he was. And that confused me, and as a young kid, I didn't know. So I put that in the back of my mind, but I always wondered, what did that mean? So as I got older, I started to search for meanings. I started searching for what I thought might be the answer to that statement that was made. When I was about 11 years old, I had a conversation with my dad, and I found myself objecting to some of the things that he was telling me out of some inspiration from somewhere, and I asked him why did he think that the Christianity that he was worshiping under was the right religion, when our people who came to this country in shackles was taught by a person who didn't treat them right. And I said, what makes you think that a person who won't treat you right will treat you right? My father had a number of answers to that, which I won't go into at this time, but that was the next step in my growth toward the search for the true religion. Later on, in my early 20s, I continued to search. I heard some teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and it got my attention because there was some talk about the injustices that were brought about against our people by the dominant culture, and that he was addressing those. And that got my attention, and I certainly did want to hear more. So as I continued to search that out, I decided that I would, at a later age, join up with that organization. And continuing my research, I went into something. I was blessed to be guided to the information on the Nicene Creed and the Nicene Council of 325 AD, where the bishops in Constantinople, or rather during the whole Constantine era, had decided that they were going to come to this grand meeting of 300 bishops and indicate that Jesus was God. And there was only one mind in there that had some questions, and that was a fellow whose name was Arius, or in some cases I've seen his name was Aaron. Aaron asked the question, where did you get that from? Where's your authority? They had no answer, so they decided to attack him, as is the case when people cannot support their position. They need to discredit the questioner. And so they took the position that Arius taught heresy. Now, nothing further affected me, and I went ahead in my pursuits with Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, and I later became a captain. I was very active and very excited to be a part of something that I thought was a grand thing for the social upliftment of my people. And one of the things that kept me hesitant for a long time was the teachings that indicated that Farad was God. So I had a problem with the rest of those things, so I had a problem with that. So I sat and I listened carefully sometimes to those words that Elijah was putting out there, that Allah who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Now, my final decision was that Allah works through people. Does he mean that Allah was working through Farad? I said, I can accept that. And that's how I was able to move forward into the Nation of Islam, because I accepted that Allah was working through this person, this man, as he was working through Elijah Muhammad, as I understood at that time. So I went on, I got very active, and later I was, as a captain, it was a grand occasion for me to be a part of the leadership in the masjid in Los Angeles. And we did a lot of great things for the community, because the outreach was where I seemed to have concentrated. And the outreach had me in the community doing a lot of things. One of the big movements was when we started importing fish in 1972 from Peru, after we had been purchasing fish through a middle entity, Japan. Well, when we had representatives to go to Peru and negotiate a direct contract with the Peruvian government, they asked if we wanted, according to the representatives, they asked if we, the Muslims, the Nation of Islam, wanted to import it all. So the representative said in a conversation one time that they had not been instructed in that case, and they didn't know what to say, but they said we would have to trust in Allah, and they said yes. So we began to import fish from Peru, and about millions of pounds per month, and coming into several ports in the U.S., and one of the ports was where I was, out there just outside of Los Angeles in the Wilmington Harbor. So we decided that we were going to take charge of the effort of bringing that fish out of the hull of the ships and loading it on the dock, and then loading it from the dock onto trucks. And we rented cold storage warehouses to house that fish, which was a massive thing, and we even brought fish from Los Angeles up to Seattle, and from Los Angeles down to Phoenix and Tucson. And during that time, I was able to get involved with some of the activities at the various masjids, even this masjid. Shortly thereafter, I visited this masjid because I was born and raised in Houston, and I left Houston to go away to college in Los Angeles at the age of 17. But after I accepted Islam, I had written a letter, as we did at that time, because letters were a very important thing. As I was talking to Imam Farouk a couple of days ago about another letter that was very important. That was a travel letter. Whenever we traveled, we got a letter from the secretary introducing ourselves to whatever masjid we choose to visit in those cities that we were attending or visiting. I visited Houston quite a bit because I have family here, and one of the things that I did was I brought my letter. And I attended the services under the then minister, and the captain was Captain Maxey, Minister Raymond, and I also ate a lot of cake and pies, bean pies, in the back room of that building over there on Polk Street. As I have here at this masjid on Belford, I enjoy the chicken and fish, the pies and cakes, and so it's like a grand circle. But at that time, I did get out there with the brothers, and I was telling Imam Farouk about how I enjoyed the drilling, how we did the soldiering, the up, 2, 3, 4, left, right, left face, right face. It was a very exciting time. Back in Los Angeles, my then superior officer, Captain Ali Rashid, who went on to become the imam in New York, Cleveland, then New York. But he took me through a lot of different training issues, and one of them was about, I had a squad under my leadership that was a group of men who were a lot older than me, had been around for a lot longer, and been a member of the Nation of Islam for a lot longer. And I found it difficult to motivate them in ways that we tried to motivate them. That was pushing the program. And pushing the program meant selling products. Also, it meant to get out and as we call fishing, and that is inviting people to the masjid. And that was our outreach effort, just inviting them to the mosque, rather, temple, to hear what we had to say. That I'd like to come back to a little later. But that was what I began to enjoy, was that outreach. And we did a lot of things along the lines of outreach. We had black expositions where we invited businesses to participate in the expo, the Black Expo. We had hundreds of businesses and thousands of people who participated in trying to do this work of outreach. So as time went on, we, I think the one that I was impressed with was one where the mayor and of the city, the first black mayor and the only black mayor until recently of Los Angeles, declared that particular day Elijah Muhammad Day. That was quite a feat to see that happen after all the opposition that we found in so many different areas. And all of a sudden now, we have been invited into the circles of the various communities. Now, getting back to that, when the transition came, many of you might remember a child's game that was called Pop the Whip. Pop the Whip was when a group of kids, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, would all lock hands and form a line. And the leader of that line would run as fast as they could in one direction, and then all of a sudden make a quick turn right or left and move in that opposite direction very fast. Well, the centrifugal force will cause one of those kids on the end of that line to lose the grip and fall out of the line and lose that connection, that link. I say that now because when the transition came with the introduction of traditional Islam by Imam Warith Muhammad, a whole lot of people lost that grip, and the centrifugal force flung them out into areas that who knows what. Some of them recovered and came back, many didn't. But we were in a position at that point where we had to relearn everything that we thought we had learned before and start to address the traditional approach to Islam as indicated in Quran, the glorious Quran. One of the things in transition, Imam Warith Muhammad decided that it was time to disband the military, 1976. And he invited all the captains from across the country, and I was a captain at that time. And he had us all to sit on the stage with him. And he had all the ministers or imams to sit in the audience. And he said he wanted to pay tribute to these men who had protected his community for so many years, for more than 40, 50 years, as he said of his brother, Elijah Muhammad II. They protected this community like the bark protects a tree. He said, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. He said, I would like now to salute them and relieve them of their duty. And he saluted us and disbanded the military. And his thinking and his words were that when any movement or organization achieves some of its objectives, its posture must change. He said, now we needed the military in those early years. He said, but now that our posture has changed and we've gotten cases where, we've been accepted in so many different areas in the politics and business and all the other areas, that our posture must now change, and our advancement has brought about the change in this posture. So we were relieved of our duty, but he started an organization called, the acronym was BAPP. And I haven't been able to remember what that was an acronym for. Do you remember, Brother Imam? That was the organization. You said, I want this organization to be the continuation of your outreach efforts. He said, because in the past, under my father, we had always invited people to us. He said, and at no time had we gone out and worked with them in the community to do some of the work that they were doing in the community, and some of it was very, very good work. And we needed to be involved in that and use that as part of our outreach, our dawah effort. So the BAPP was to be the outreach arm, to give those officers who had been the ones out in the community, searching and inviting and doing the work in the field, to continue to do that. So I initiated a statewide conference where we got all the former captains and lieutenants to come to a conference there in Los Angeles that dealt with community outreach. And the initial outreach I indicated was, you need to get to know all of those people in the political arena that has an impact on your life, your local and state and national representatives, school board members, city council members, state senators and assembly people, and so on. And the idea here is to get addresses and phone numbers and contact points and contact people of all those politicians, because they do have an impact on your life. And whether it be repairing streets, weatherization of homes for seniors, and all those kinds of things that come from that political arena and the financial area. So we started that particular conference in order to allow some of those young men who were anxious to continue reaching out to the community to start to communicate with those people who had the impact on their life in the political and also the business arena. And those were some of the things that I felt fairly proud of, because we were successful in making a transition that was really meaningful to us and continuing to do the effort of dawah. Then Imam Muhammad brought about several other organizations within our community. One was called AMCOP. AMCOP was a collective buying project that where we would be purchasing items directly from manufacturers in order to get them at the lowest price and then selling them to our community. And that covered a lot of different things, large and small items, whether appliances, clothing, or whatever. We were all busy trying to make this particular part of our new community work, AMCOP. There was another one that had to do with CRADE. CRADE was another one of the outreach efforts that he provided us with in order for us to continue to function in an outreach capacity. We spent a lot of time dealing with some of the people who had opposition. Some of them were in support of our effort, and many of them assisted us. I was pleased to be invited to a large conference on marketing held at University of Southern California by some of their marketing professionals. And as we sat through the workshops, I couldn't get a word in, it appears, because they would not call on me when I held my hand up. At the end, they finally decided to listen to me, and when I told them who I was and what I represented our community, and they said, oh yes, your methods of marketing is a process that we speak highly of, because you market your products, you manufacture and market your products, and the system by which you do that is called some fancy name that they had set up for that style of marketing, because we were marketing our newspaper, we were marketing a bean pie, we were marketing fish, and many other items. But we had some other things that we had to do that Imam Warthi Muhammad felt was a detriment to us, and that was that we had businesses connected with the masjid, and we weren't paying taxes. RS had gotten very, very adamant. For a long time, we were not bothered by RS and not paying any kind of business tax or any kind of income tax or anything having to do with our businesses. But Imam Muhammad, with his foresight, said that we have to separate our businesses from the masjid, because we don't want them to make a move and come down on our businesses in any kind of a legal way and have the masjid connected with that. So that was when he asked all businesses, the imams and the leaders of the communities, to separate the businesses from the masjid. So that became the order of the day, and we found ourselves at that time with a wealth of products in the fish, because we had millions of pounds of fish coming into the various harbors around the country. I think Wilmington, just outside of Los Angeles, Mobile, Alabama, I think was another, Philadelphia was a third, and we had ships coming in, and the Brotherhood were the ones that did the work, not only of unloading the ships and loading it into trucks and taking it to cold storage warehouses, but also to distribute that fish across the country. And that started a lot of businesses, because a lot of people started being very successful in businesses using the fish. There were several people I knew who had gotten the fish in a excuse me, I was trying to get the message. Light Arrest Pioneer Patrol, BAPP. You remember?
I remember the mention.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, I certainly thank you for that, because, you know, as I said earlier, I'm 87 years old nowadays, and my memory doesn't, my memory don't do what it used to do. Light Arrest Pioneer Patrol, BAPP, was the organization within our community that was used for the outreach after Imam Wardi Muhammad disbanded the military. Thank you so much for that. But again, that was a dear part of my involvement at that time, because I was really wedded to community outreach and to issues that led me in different directions. One was I was impressed with what the NAACP had done for our people for so many years under the earlier leadership, and also under Attorney Charles Houston, who was Thurgood Marshall's mentor. And I was impressed when they came to that church, that same church where I was singing that song with the congregation. And they were doing a fundraising to help him to defend the lives of black men throughout the South who were being accused of things that they had not committed. And my parents always gave me a dime or a nickel to put in the church collection. Well, when they came around with that basket for the NAACP, I hurried up and put my nickel or dime in that basket, because I had been praying to Allah at that time as a young kid to do something about this evil that I hear the old folks talking about, the treatment of African American people. And by the time I was 8 or 9 years old, I was very disturbed and very discouraged, because I kept hearing the people say the same things over and over again. And all of a sudden, when this group of people came to the church to talk about what Thurgood Marshall was doing throughout the South and handling these cases, many times with absolutely no evidence against this man, but if somebody in the major community said that he did it, he did it. It didn't need, and the judges ruled, and they lost their lives. And this was a great eye-opening for me. So when Imam Wardi Muhammad opened up this light arrest patrol, it gave me another arm to work with. I worked with the NAACP. I later became president of NAACP in my city, and I worked with them in trying to arrest some of the injustices that were going on in that area through that particular organization, as well as continuing my effort of outreach with the masjid and Muslim community. I was blessed to be able to work with some people who had similar motivations, and I thank Allah for all the opportunities that came my way at the time and the successes that we had. But Imam Muhammad, when he disbanded the military and put us on that trajectory, I was working with the city of Los Angeles in finance and contracting, and I was also working with the NAACP and with the masjid, and they were beginning to cross. I was able to influence a lot of people to do a lot of things that were not traditional, and for that I'm thankful. And as I go now around the city, I see some of the projects that we got started early on. They kind of pleased me to see. One was a developer was building about 275 upscale houses up in the hills overlooking my city, Altadena and Pasadena. And we were able to get in there and convince them that they needed to spend some of that money with local contractors and local skilled and unskilled workers. So we were able to get not only those things done, but we were able to get the developer to fund the oversight of their efforts, because we had made the contact with the Board of Supervisors, and the supervisor for that district had had written into the permit to build those 275 homes a requirement that met what we had laid out as a plan for them putting some money back into the community. Also, one other one that was very, very exciting to me was the set up what we call the economic summit. That economic summit was to bring together all of the resources necessary to either build or initiate a business or to expand a business. So I set up 5 workshops. The initial workshop was how to write your business plan and how to develop your business. The second of the workshops was access to capital. The third was marketing your business. The fourth was tax implications and record keeping. Can't remember the fifth. We had some business professionals in the development of the business plans and helping the people in there. Through the office that I was working out in the city, I had access to hundreds of small businesses throughout Los Angeles County. So I sent letters out to all of them to come to this particular economic summit. And I got Bank of America to send one of their vice presidents, they sent two vice presidents to this economic summit. First Interstate Bank, which was later gobbled up by Wells Fargo, was the second bank that came and involved themselves in our efforts. And what they did was, First Interstate had a small business limit of a minimum of $250,000 a year gross. And I convinced them that for many of our people in the community, that's not a small business. Our businesses are generally far less than that, and you need to adjust your development procedures and your limits to bring that figure down, because they were not assisting businesses below $250,000 a year. And so after my efforts, they brought that down to $50,000 a year, and that became the standard for small businesses in the area. Bank of America also did some things and told me that we will make business loans to these people if they've been in business for at least 2 years and you recommend them. He said that's all they need, 2 years in business, efforts to make a business, and then you recommend them and we will approve for a business loan. So again, you can see some of the things that we were trying to do as outreach in our community was something that was a progressive thing in the sense that we were trying to deal with the economics. The collective economics that Imam Warren Muhammad was trying to get going with the AMCOP program, and with just continuously inviting us to continue to think in terms of collective economics. We still need to be doing that. We need to be working in that direction because, we need to have our people in positions where they can be successful in business and other entrepreneurial efforts. So these are some of the things that I have been excited about in working with over the years, and my efforts now have been that when I retired from my regular job 18 years ago, I kind of retired from many other things, and I got to slowing down, and I still want to continue to align myself with those efforts in our community. And when I came back to Houston, I retired and I sold my house out there in California and other properties, and I decided to move to Houston. My daughter had preceded me and moved to Houston, and she told me when my wife passed that I should move to Houston with her. Well, I'm from Houston and left here at age 17, went out there into California and started my family and continued my efforts with the match theater in the area. But when I came back in January of this year, I tried to find the match theater, the succession of the match theater that I had acquainted myself with in 1972, Temple number 45. So after doing a little research and going around and trying to find out, I found that the Master of Royalty Muhammad here on Belford was the successor to a large degree of those earlier efforts. And so I made my efforts to come here and I met some grand brothers and some great brothers. And I'm so thankful because you made me feel welcome. Brother Paul, he's one of the first ones I met because he had a canopy and a table sitting out in the yard. And so I saw him first, and he gave me a big smile, and we shook hands and greeted, and he was the first name that I could remember. I'm still learning names, Brother Imam. I'm still learning the names of the brotherhood, the brothers. And, but then I met Imam Farouk. I was very impressed because when we got to talking, it turns out that he was the secretary at Temple number 45 back in 1970 something, forgotten the years. And I had a kinship, a feeling of kinship there that very strong. And I told him that when we had our conversation most recently, we recited a lot of the things from the past that kind of brought back some fond memories, and I'm very thankful to have been able to make his acquaintance. But I'm also very happy that I found this community because I feel a kinship here. I feel comfort. I feel like I'm home. And I want to thank you, all of the brotherhood, and I thank the sisters for all the work that they've done out there in the kitchen. And because it's good for me because I don't cook very much anymore. My wife having deceased, I miss that convenience of the married life. And so when I come to the nest on Friday for Jummah, I find it very rewarding and very warm to be able to go and get some of that good home cooked food in that community room next door. So I want to thank all of you for all of the things that you've done to make my stay here so far welcoming and warm. And I don't have very much more that I had planned to say, except that I asked if the imam would want me to take questions through a question and answer session, and I would certainly wouldn't mind doing that if there are any questions. Well, I see that our technician has stepped out of the room, and I want to continue to, since the camera is rolling, I need to continue to find something to say. Well, it's easy to say, as Brother Paul said, when you're up here talking, you're talking about things that you've lived, and so that's the truth. I've lived this life. I'm thankfully a Muslim. I'm so glad that I was able to find my way here after all the struggles and all the searching that I did from a young, very, very young age, to finally be in a community that fits all of the things that are in my heart and the things that Allah has created me and created us to be involved in. And the propagation, the outreach, and all that stuff I found is one of the very beautiful things that I've seen here at this masjid and other masajids around the country. And again, Brother Imam, if there are any questions,
So there are not any questions right now, but we'll put it back out there for the folks listening. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. But Jazakallah khairan, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for all your efforts in this deen and spreading this deen and sharing that history with us. And seeing as how I see no additional comments, I think we're okay to go ahead and close out.
all right. And thank you very much. I certainly do feel grateful for this opportunity. I want to thank you for the invitation and hope that I can be of service in other ways at the masjid here. Thank you again.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Just one other announcement I want to make before I let everyone go is again, we have upcoming our Evening of Gratitude. That's October 21st. That will be 20 years of shared leadership with Imam Wazir and his leadership team. That'll be at the Turkish Center. Again, on October 21st, please get your tickets. You can get your tickets at tinyurl.com/MWDM20 years. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.